Welcome back to Small College Conversations. I'm Kristen Eargle. I'm joined by Darnell Smith, Texas A&M-San Antonio's athletic director. Darnell, thanks for being a part of us.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to hear about this journey. You started at the athletic department at Texas A&M-San Antonio, which is a significant undertaking. Let's talk about that. I want you to talk a little bit about your career leading up to this and what prepared you for this moment in building this long-term vision.
Well, it started off when I was a student athlete. I was very fortunate to get a scholarship to play football for Oklahoma State University. While I was there, I had a fantastic time, just an amazing collegiate experience. The administrators, the coaches, and plus we got a chance to play in some bowl games. So just the experience overall led to my excitement and wanted to be in athletics. So when I got through playing, at least my collegiate career, I said, look, I want to continue this energy, this excitement. I want to reach the heights in athletics to be able to have that impact and that influence on others that it had on me. So I asked the administrators at Oklahoma State, I said, well, what's the quickest way? Because I want to become an athletic director. What's the quickest way that I can do that? Always looking for that shortcut, right? So they said, hey, compliance touches everything. I said, sure, let me just go ahead and jump in compliance. Didn't know all the ins and outs, but it was an opportunity of a lifetime. So I dove right in. I was a graduate assistant at Oklahoma State dealing with compliance, all recruiting logs, all those things that go into it, really understanding the background, the nuances when it comes to intercollegiate athletics. Everything touches compliance. And as I like to say, compliance does rule. A little bad pun there, a little bad joke there. But for those that know me, you get it. But from there, I said, look, I want to continue this. Once I left Oklahoma State, I had the opportunity to work at the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee out there in Colorado Springs. It was a fantastic time. That was during the Beijing Games, and I learned a lot, just more about the sports industry overall and how it's all interconnected, especially with like the Olympic sports. I'm really building this pedigree, this knowledge, and ultimately my goal was to become an athletic director. So from there, I left to take on an opportunity at the University of New Mexico, where I became the director of athletic compliance. Again, rules, regulations, but now at the FBS level, and really understanding now at this next level how it works, the speed, the intricacies, the complexities, working with Division I athletics. So all this time I'm kind of building, learning, and growing. From there, I left the University of Mexico, take on an opportunity at the University of Central Oklahoma, become a assistant athletic director of compliance and student athlete services. I spent a decade there, but there I really grew. And I got to say that if it had not been for mentors, if it had not been for the professional development opportunities, for example, the business of small college athletics, that was spearheaded by Jim Abbott when he was at Oklahoma City University and is still managing that program. These things help kind of polish me and sharpen my tools from a leadership perspective and understanding how athletics works. Again, from a student athlete, my ultimate goal was to become an athletic director, and I never strayed away from that. And I learned, I just picked up and I understood, and I talked to a lot of people. My mentors really stepped in. I had this board of directors that was guiding me. And then also just talking and asking a lot of great questions to be able to ultimately get to that goal. And this opportunity at Texas A&M University came open back in my hometown. I'm from San Antonio. And they said, hey, we want to build this intercollegiate athletics program, and we're looking for a leader. And the accumulation of all my experiences and just everything that I've led up, professional development, mentors, people that invest in me, being a student athlete, learning, growing, all these things I took with me into the opportunity, and it worked out.
And you saw this on several levels. I mean, from a national perspective, when you're talking about the Olympics and Paralympics, right? And you also saw it in, big time power for athletics program. You played that level and you saw it at different levels. So when you had the chance to put together a strategic vision, I'm sure a lot of thoughts were swirling around your head. So much excitement. Okay, where do I start? But talk me through that process of putting that together. And then ultimately right now, what is the vision for the Jaguars department?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I stepped into this role back January 2020 is when I started. And although it's been a little over 4.5 years ago, as we have a little joke here, for every 1 year, that's 3-year Jaguar terms, as we are the Jaguars. But it's important that as I set the vision, I understand, look, I don't have all the answers. And that's one of the things that you'll learn is humility and being humble in this role, but also having a big vision. My background, for those, a little fun fact, actually, when I started off in college, I was actually an art major. Long story, not enough for this segment, but I did switch over to economics eventually. But I bring that up because as an artist, you work with a canvas and you want to try to paint, if your medium is paint, or if you want to draw, if it's charcoal, if it's pencil, if it's whatever it may be. But either way, you have a canvas to work with and you want to paint this vision for what this masterpiece could look like. And for me, I had this vision because of my collective experiences, being at the Power 5 level, being at the Group of 5 or 6 level, being in Division II, understanding what the student-athlete experience means. So when I stepped in, I said, first and foremost, the student-athlete experience is going to be paramount. And I don't have all the answers to know how to get there. I've never worked in NAIA at the time, but I understood how to pivot and adjust. And the most important thing was, because I didn't know everything, I hired people that were a lot smarter than I am. And I will say that. They are a lot smarter than I am, and I make sure I put them in positions so that we can work together. So when I came in here, didn't have the vision, but I felt like every stroke, every detail, everything like that, getting the pieces, getting the pillars together, we're going to build this foundation. And from that foundation, we start to put up the walls, or we start to paint. And I think that as any masterpiece with any artist, you're never really truly done. But you know what? You get to a good point. And so my vision was to make sure the student-athlete experience was met. I want to make sure that we were building champions. And this is what the vision is now. We're going to build champions. I am on a mission to build champions in athletics, in academics, as well as in life. And that's always been the goal. And in order to do that, I had to work with the administration, obviously, and we had to be able to come together. Now, during this period of time, we think back to January 2020, right. Maybe just a couple of months later from that, if anyone can recall, there was something called a pandemic.
It got complicated.
It got a little complicated. And again, being a first-time athletic director and not having been through, who has been through a pandemic, but not having been through that, that's why it's so important to be able to have a team that you trust, have a team that works just as hard. I worked at a small college athletics in Division II, and there's not a lot of resources, but that I mean like financial. And so you had to be very, very, very creative in order to achieve the same end goal. Graduating student athletes, that's our goal on a mission. Again, building champions academically, making sure the community knows that we exist because it's a brand new program. And with being a brand new program, the exposure, the brand identity is not there. The brand equity is not as strong. And so my goal is to be able to make sure that we can be prominently out there in the community and that people knew that we existed, and we wanted to represent the pride of South San Antonio, but San Antonio in general. History, fun fact, our athletics department is the first intercollegiate athletics program in South Bexar County history. And San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the country. And the only other 4-year public state university in the 7th largest city is UTSA. So part of this vision is making sure that A&M-San Antonio, the Jaguars, are out there. We're graduating student athletes. We're in the community. We're growing. So we're going to build champions athletically, academically, and in the community. And that's still the mission even to this day. Again, 4.5 years, going through the pandemic, going through Snowmageddon, or whatever you want to call it, going through all these changes. And not having been an AD, I leaned a lot on my mentors. I leaned a lot on my board of directors. I learned from professional development opportunities. I took all these things that carried me to this position. I never left them behind, and it really propelled me forward. And that's how I came to this vision, and making sure that our campus is on the map and that people understand that we're here to make a change and transform lives through the power of sports.
I love that. And I love the part when you talked about, I'm summarizing, but, leading with humility and getting advisors involved in areas that you wanted to grow in and you could get good feedback from. Talk me through creating those short, medium, and long-term strategic plans. What does that look like right now?
Right now?
Yes.
ever evolving, ever changing. No, I mean, in reality, it is truly, we have a fairly new president. Matter of fact, he'll start, well, his investiture is coming up here pretty soon, and he's been with the institution for a year. But it all starts with the top, the leadership, whether it be short, mid, or long term. It always starts with the leadership, starts with the president, starts with our board of directors and the chancellor, but really here with the president. So working alongside, making sure that whatever vision I have, whatever goals that we have, aligns with that of the president and with the cabinet, with the leadership, and with the strategic plan. And one of the things that I try to do is ensure that, hey, look, we have these pillars of success. So we're student focused. We're focusing on transformative experiences and experiential experiences. We're making sure that they're getting a degree, pursuing these things, making sure that they're involved. All these things, it aligns with the campus. And because our campus, a little fun fact, we sit at 7,700 in enrollment. Our campus is only 15 years young. Athletics is only 4.5, as I'm the inaugural, but our campus is only 15 years young. We sit on 700 acres of land, and we are growing. So part of I guess the short, mid, and long term is to make sure that we can have the infrastructure, facilities, buildings to be able to accommodate our student athlete growth and our sport expansion, but also to be able to support the enrollment growth and the expansion for our campus overall. We can't build buildings fast enough on our campus to accommodate the growth. We are expected to be at least 10,000 conservatively, hopefully within the next 3 to 4 years. But again, all these things that happen around athletics impacts athletics. I believe that athletics is a microcosm of the university in and of itself. I'm not calling myself the president, but I understand when it comes to fundraising. I understand when it comes to enrollment growth. I understand when it comes to financial aid and the challenges with FAFSA because that impacts our student athletes. I understand when it comes to the academic excellence and some of the things that the provost is also looking at. The business operations, because we're building facilities. We got a rec center we just completed. Being able to have these mutual shared experiences, like, for example, with recreational sport in our rec center. So not to belabor the point, but when it comes to these goals, when it comes to my vision, and we have to work together with the campus, we have to reach across the aisle. Not everyone's going to get everything that they want, but this is a mutually beneficial. We have to look at where the reciprocity is and where these symbiotic relationships can really occur so that it is truly a win-win for everyone. And as I look at my vision, we're going to graduate our student athletes long-term, short-term, and always the goal. We're going to focus on health and safety and well-being, making sure that we can get all our student athletes eligible as well. So the academic piece, the compliance piece, we're going to make sure we're out there in the community, the exposure, external piece. We're going to fundraise from small college athletics. It's one of the challenges is making sure that you can get the money that comes in. That's really everywhere. But
it's true, honestly.
Yeah, and get the money in, but also making sure we build relationships. I don't want to just be an athletic director to say, hey, look, we got these goals, we're going to do it, because I can't do it without the community. We are the community. We are Jaguars. I throw it in there, but we are the community. And so part of the goal is ensuring that we represent our community very well and that we can bring and instill a lot of pride in those that support us, but also be able to support the A&M system and be able to do things with excellence.
What would you say are some of the biggest wins for the past few years? You talked about you can't building fast enough. So what's transpired that you're most proud of right now?
That's a loaded question. No, and a great loaded question. For anyone that knows me, I promise you I will try to keep this as short as possible. There's people laughing right now and shaking their head, no way. And they're more than likely right. So I'll say just getting started is a win. You think January 2020, there was nothing. And I don't mean this to brag or to show bravado or anything. It's just, there was nothing. I was the athletic department, and the athletic department was me. I'd never been at NAIA before. I've never been an athletic director before, but I had to trust in my vision. I had to trust in my experiences, my education. I had to trust that I was here for a reason. I'm a I rely on my faith. So I believe that there's a plan and a purpose for my being here. So a win was just getting started. Getting through the pandemic was a win for everyone that was able to successfully maneuver that. Launching our sports, we have 6, so starting with softball and men's golf in the spring of 21 was a win. The first time ever in this school's young history. Now we have intercollegiate athletics here, and we were very, very competitive. We don't have sports just to have them. We're going to be competitive. So part of that vision is to have an elite program that does compete nationally, not just in athletics, but academics. We want national scholars. We want this and that, but on that national stage. Then we launched with soccer, men's and women's, that fall of 21. That was a win. Now we got 4 sports. Making sure our student athletes were eligible. That was a win. So every little thing is a win. And it's a lot of these scholars and a lot of these leaders, if you will, like John Maxwell, Stephen Covey, Brene Brown, all these individuals that have these leadership books out there I've read, and they'll talk about, look, you got to celebrate the small wins just as much as you celebrate the big wins. So every little thing that we do is a win. And I will say, and I will brag, having the facilities now, again, we have a soccer field. We have a practice softball field, but we have a rec center in which basketball will now be able to compete. Launching basketball this year is a win. Bringing in my first 6-figure gift for fundraising was a win. Breaking a fundraising record in this most recent Jaguar Classic, our golf tournament, was a win. Graduating the first student athletes was a significant win. Scholar athletes. So I could go on and on and on. And yes, they're right. They were shaking their heads saying that Darnell's not going to keep this short, and they're absolutely correct. But we have projects right now. For example, we have an 8-lane track, a competitive track that's coming. And we should have construction on that in the next year. I mean, January 2025, if all goes according to plan. We'll have an infield turf, like a turf infield, synthetic turf, in which it could be a multi-purpose field, be soccer, this and that, have some lights and some grandstand bleachers. We're also building a softball stadium. That's coming, all part of this project. I mean, we're growing exponentially. So I'll keep it there as far as wins. But I really talk about my team, the successes. I mean, our athletic department just this past year received the Sportsmanship of the Year award from the Red River Athletic Conference. And that in of itself says something, because we only had 4 sports, but we were recognized by my peers to be able to be at that level. So I'm very, very proud of that. And they honored me as well with the Red River Athletic Director of the Year award for this past year. So that's a win. So I'll keep it there. But no, just a lot of successes and wins for this program.
Yes. I have so many follow-up questions. I don't even know where to go with these, but I'll start here. In terms of adding these sports, do you have a kind of a blueprint now? And again, plug and play almost, in terms of, now we're adding this sport, and this is kind of the strategic way we go about that in terms of timelines, facilities. Do you kind of have that down now, or is it really tailored? I mean, it has to be tailored to the sport some, but how much is it just, I now have the infrastructure set up for adding sports because now I've done it one time here at this university?
Yeah, that's what's interesting about, being in this position. There is no set template for anything. Even, for example, when people ask me, like, how do you get in the chair, Darnell? I'm like, whatever way you want to get there, that's your pathway. So when it comes to like adding sports, it is this conversation that I have with the president. I report directly to the president, and not just the current president, but it started with the previous president as well. And also talking with the cabinet members, talking with, for example, our vice president of business affairs, our CFO, because I got to find the money if you want to add sports. And so, but also there's a balance. When looking at sports, another factor that comes in is Title IX. And so as the campus enrollment, because we look at proportionality. I know there's three different prongs, and you try to strive for one of them, but we're looking at proportionality here on this campus. And so as the enrollment tends to shift, we're constantly looking at, how do we adjust our participation numbers? Some people get the misunderstanding to say it has to be apples to apples. So if we had men's golf, you got to have women's golf. Not necessarily the case, at least in our case. We're looking at the proportionality. So, but my plan, yes, I put like this. I have an annual plan. When I look at my strategic plan, I have my 3 to 5 year plan, but I also have a 10-year plan. I have a 15-year plan. I have a 20-year plan. Believe it or not, I have a plan that goes 30 to 50 years into the future. Now, it all just depends on the money. It all just depends on how we can fund that. So the plans can shift, but it also depends on the president and what the president ultimately wants, because the president sets the vision and really sets the tone, and the president will determine how to distribute funds. So yes, there is a plan to be able to expand. And what I will say, what makes a lot of sense, because I can't set this in stone, but what would make a lot of sense is, hey, if we're building a track and field may make a lot of sense. Excuse me. Or cross country may make a lot of sense. Women's golf may make a lot of sense. But people always ask me, because, hey, you're in Texas. What about football, Darnell?
I was going to ask about it.
Yeah, I know. And everyone watching this would be like, Darnell, football, where you at? People have been asking me, hey, I want to be your head coach. I'm like, really? No, but I do appreciate it, and I love everyone that's reaching out about that. But football is a conversation, but football is an expensive endeavor. So if there's a donor out there that says, hey, you know what, I want to invest, a little plug here, I want to invest in A&M-San Antonio. I want to invest in that athletic department because I believe in what they're doing. Come on. We could talk about it. Contact me. You can find my information on TamusaSports.com. Let's talk about it. But that's really how it goes. But we have to rely on the enrollment for the campus. I have to look at my my athletic fee, and then I rely on the donors that can, and then coming together, we can figure out, well, what sports can we afford to add next. And then there is support from the campus. And again, the president will determine that. So come up in the future, those sports I mentioned may make a lot of sense, but women's volleyball is very, very popular in Texas as well. Yeah. Baseball is very, very, very popular. And there's a lot of things happening in the city of San Antonio in which they're looking at trying to maneuver a lot of, sport venues downtown. And don't think I'm not looking at that too. So that's why I say it's ever evolving, and knowing how we could work with the city, to work with the county. But then also that's me communicating with the president about what makes a lot of sense, because you got to be able to afford it. I don't want to just add sports to be adding them. We got to add sports that's going to make an impact, but then also represents the community and something that people actually want to see out there. Because again, without the fans, without the community, these things don't move forward at all.
How much of your conversations with your president and even donors and community members are maybe some of these facilities have dual purpose? Do you have those types of conversations? Is this a driver in some of this where the students, non-athletes can use some of this stuff? And how much of that is a part of some of these decisions?
There is a part of that. And it just depends. Sorry, that's the compliance person in me. They're like, oh, Darnell, can we do this? Can we? All my compliance administrators watching, like, that's correct. It depends. So when it comes to these conversations, if it's an athletics facility, excuse me, and I've been soliciting donors, or if I'm trying to reach out, then yes, it's a constant conversation, but also bringing in the vice president for advancement. It's also bringing in my coaches that's directly involved with that facility. It is talking with our director of alumni affairs on this campus, because, hey, we want alumni to be supportive of this. We want alumni to come because this is going to be, their team. So it is bringing a lot of people to the table at different points within the process. If it's conversational, it could be survey. That could be their voice. It could also be like, if it's a major donor, hey, let's go grab some lunch. Let's go grab several lunches. Building out my budget for a lot of lunches and breakfast. But I mean, these things do happen. But if you're looking at, for example, the track that I mentioned, the soccer field within the track, the softball stadium. Well, that money that supports that is actually a relationship that happened with Bexar County. And so because of that, now it's, okay, well, talking with the Bexar County officials, how do you foresee using this facility? Let us know what you want to do with this, and then also building into the scheduling times for them to be able to occupy it or be able to use it. So there's a lot of conversations that happen. It just depends on what the facility is, and it also depends on when you want to build it. And if you're starting off just the quiet phase, you're still trying to solicit, then there's a lot of conversation that happen with that. Maybe a feasibility study, or you're trying to get. But if you're actually going into the phase where you're actually trying to solicit, and you're going out there and be more external with it, then yeah, you're trying to bring as many people as you can. The other thing too, again, I defer back to the president and the cabinet and the leadership that we have, because ultimately, if they want to do a capital campaign and they want to build for example, like a student union or something like that, then we are all in. And we're talking about, because the impact is for the students, and our student athletes are students. So we're going to be all in with that. And those conversations, however I can be supportive, then that's what I'll do. So long story short, I guess, or long story shorter, stop laughing at me, everyone. But it does depend. But yes, these conversations do happen.
Talk me through the impact that you have seen so far with adding sports to Texas A&M-San Antonio. You grew up there, so you are familiar with the area, the community, and the students there, alumni. You already know some of them. So how have you seen it already have a positive impact?
Oh, fantastic question. And, you got me going down memory lane here. Yes, I grew up here in San Antonio, and it was just a dream for me to get back home, to be able to do something. And the word that comes to mind is legacy. Legacy for not just my family, but I mean, those that I grew up with here in town, the city, those that I've connected with. It's just a special opportunity. I feel like ever since I was 10 years old, if you will, I've been playing sports in San Antonio, doing a lot of different things, little leagues, city championships for basketball, football, even playing in a state championship in high school for Taft Raiders, go Raiders there. So I've seen it at different levels. And then also even playing in the Alamo Bowl here in San Antonio. So when it comes to sports, I've been connected to the city, having grown up here. Plus, my father was in the military, and he was in the Air Force, so being on Air Force Base in Military City, USA. So when it comes to like the impact that we have, at least where it's at right now, it's been tremendous. We're working on, and I'm making a concerted effort to make sure that our brand is out there, making sure that people understand that we are here and we are Jaguars, and that we're just as competitive as anyone else that you would know. And we want to represent the pride of this great community. And the people, it's just like a family down here. So having grown up, when we talk about sports, you can't talk about San Antonio without talking about the Spurs, and and how they've set a championship culture, and how they've done things to really bolster this community. You talk about baseball, you talk about the missions, you talk about all these different entities, and it's like now we are here and we are part of that mix. So 4.5 years in now, I think that just having the sports and growing, and people can see, they can physically see. If they can't believe, they can come here and they can see exactly everything that we're doing, and then they understand that this is about to be a massive undertaking, but it's going to be incredible, the journey, but then also whenever it's done, because we're painting a masterpiece, and as artists, you never know when you're truly done. So for me, just being a part of this community, growing up, and just being involved with sports, and being able to build this athletics department from the ground up in the city that I call home is just very, very special. And I think we are making an impact, because people are starting to know and accept and support the Jaguars.
Incredible. Thank you so much for your time. Hey, Darnell, the best is yet to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope that you all continue to follow us on this journey. So you go to Tamusa Sports, TAMUSA sports.com, and check us out. And follow us on social media. There's a lot of incredible things. And I know some people follow me on LinkedIn. Continue to do so. Continue to look at us on social media. We got a lot of great things happening, and there's a lot of great things on the horizon. So stay tuned, everyone.